If Father Blunt were here tonight, I'll bet he is in spirit at least. I know he is smiling. I'm sure he's smiling. It took a while, but about 30 years ago, it was a broken, very diminished organization. But since 1993, under the leadership of its current president, Bill Donohue, the League's membership under Bill Donohue, the League's membership and its presence has exploded. It has forcefully met the challenges of the moment over these 30 years, and with smarts and snap, it has smacked down bigotry and defended the cause of religious liberty in an incredible way. Oh, I don't know, somebody's singing back here. It's somebody's phone. She's singing pretty, but I don't know what she's singing. Anyway, a word about Bill Donohue while I have your attention, and the lady back here is still singing, and his sergeant at arms, Bernadette Brady Egan. Okay? These two people, let me tell you, and I know this, and I see it throughout my life and throughout my career. There are a ton of Catholic organizations out there. Many of you have attended their galas, you support them. They're all very good. However, many of them raise money to defend a Catholic cause, but none, and I say this with authority, I think, none have had the cultural impact or is run as leanly as the Catholic League is. This organization, Bill, just to give you some insight, Bill writes the Catalyst every month, okay? He writes everything from the Catalyst, which is the monthly newsletter, to the press releases, to the member letters. Bernadette single-handedly oversees the mailings and the membership lists and the printing and all the day-to-day organizational part of the organization and the structure of that institution. She keeps the Catholic League going while Bill creates the vision and advances that in the wider culture. Other organizations have a squad of people, and I have seen them. Fundraising people and writers and direct marketers and spokesmen and researchers. Bill and Bernadette, would you stand up for a second for me? I want you to see the Catholic League. There's the Catholic League writing staff, fundraising staff, direct marketing staff, PR staff, and the spokespeople right there. And I have never seen an organization that's more careful about the donations entrusted to them. They use the money for the cause, period. And they deliver results. The League has defended the church and clergy when they were unfairly attacked in the media. When networks or studios launched content that the League considered blasphemous, they shined a light on it, on those productions, and they engaged their membership. When profane, anti-Catholic art was featured in public galleries, the League objected and had that changed. When Mother Teresa was defended, it was Bill Donohue who confronted Christopher Hitchens, her primary critic, and debated him at the Union League Club about 23 years ago. And in 2010, he organized a rally that blocked traffic on 42nd Street because the Empire State Building wouldn't light it to honor Mother Teresa, and he thought that was wrong. He has taken on everyone from Phil Donohue to Disney, and he's left the field victorious. Not since my beloved Reverend Mother Angelica has there been, I think, a Catholic figure who combined activism and faith and humor to organize and rally believers in such a powerful, consistent way. I was racking my brain over a way to describe Bill this evening, and I'll leave it at this: undaunted, faithful vigilance with a side of humor. Because that's what he brings to everything and every endeavor and every fight. So, tonight, I hope you will raise your glass with me. On behalf of my Rebecca and my son Lorenzo and my papal posse, Father Gerald Murray and Robert Royal are here tonight. and to all of the members and the board of the Catholic League, may the Catholic League continue for another half century. But Bill, you have to pay your own bar tab for the next 50 years. God bless you. Thank you all. To the Catholic League, thank you. And now I have a happy duty. You know, it takes a very steady hand, I think, to govern and oversee a board like the board of the Catholic League. And for a number of years, the organization has been blessed to have a wise and seasoned doctor at our helm. He is a dentist by training, and he spreads smiles wherever he goes. Would you welcome the chairman of the Catholic League Board, Walter Knysz. Walter.
Shaky hand, huh? Welcome, everyone, to the Catholic League's 50th anniversary dinner, and I'm Walt Knysz, chairman of the board. I'd like to introduce a couple of people here tonight. Would the FBI, anybody from the FBI, please stand up? They're being a little shy, I guess. Well, just if you are here, we're loving, we're peaceful, and we want to do what's right. So please look at We're here tonight to celebrate a century of work in defense of the Catholic Church. It is only appropriate that we start with giving some more information about Father Bloom, the man that started the Catholic League. He was a Jesuit and a professor of political science at the University of Marquette in Milwaukee. He founded in '73, the same year of the infamous Roe v. Wade decision from the Supreme Court. He was strong pro-life, but that wasn't the reason he started the Catholic League. It was school choice. Father Bloom recognized that in the beginning of the 19th century, the Protestant establishment seized on the public schools as a vehicle to proselytize Catholic students. Indeed, we owe the founding of the Catholic schools to men like the Archbishop Dagger John Hughes of New York, who was convinced that the Catholic students would not get a fair shake. And how prophetic was that, huh? Mm-hmm. Father Bloom's problem with the public schools was not that they were mistreated. That was long since been an issue. But it was more the Blaine amendments in the 19th century that were founded in bigotry. He designed to deny public funds of any kind to the Catholic schools, and Father Bloom wanted to change that. School choice is still a priority of the Catholic League, even though it competes with several other pressing matters. The rights of priests have been decimated in recent years from overly aggressive district attorneys, and we are very proud of our victories in the courts in defending them. This is important because Father Bloom carefully chose his words when he called the Catholic League for religious and civil rights. And then 3 years after Father Bloom passed away, Bill Donohue, my friend and mentor, took over. And Bill has been with us now 30 years for his 30th anniversary. And it was in financial disarray when he came in. He had several hard decisions to make with the help of the then chairman, my immediate predecessor, Father Philip Eichner. They were tough, but very important decisions. Bill was hired largely because of his intellectual presence on TV. His debating skills are well known. Through the medium of TV, he drew the attention of serious Catholics nationwide, essentially refounding the Catholic League. And this is important. He quickly turned things around, making the Catholic League a truly grassroots organization. We have the Catholic Church, the Pope, the Cardinals. From the top, we have the grassroots organization of the Catholic League from the bottom. And putting them together, we have truly become a force to be reckoned with. And it's about time, and just in time. When Bill's not writing news releases or our monthly journal, The Catalyst, he's being interviewed by newspapers, magazines, internet, radio shows, and TV programs. He still has time to write a book, what, a month almost. But he writes a lot of them. His latest book, War on Virtue, if you start to read it, you can't put it down. I highly recommend it. The Catholic League is more than the staff, the board of directors, the board of advisors. It's a tribute to our dedicated members that we are able to do the job of defending Catholicism from its enemies. We don't quarrel with people who engage in legitimate criticism of the policies of the Catholic Church. We object when that criticism spills over into bigotry. The moral state of our culture, as we know, is in trouble. We are convinced that the Catholic Church's teachings hold the key to that reform. Our job in the Catholic League is to allow the voice of the Church to be heard and give it respectful treatment. With the help of God, we plan on doing so for many years. I'd like to end my remarks with the following quote from Cardinal George, Chicago, deceased. I expect to die in bed. He did. My successor will die in prison, and his successor will die a martyr in the public square. His successor will pick up the shards of a ruined society and slowly help rebuild civilization, as the Church has done so often in human history. Please, let's work together not to have this prophecy come true. Thank you for coming. Enjoy the evening. God bless you all, and God bless America.
Thank you, Walt. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our next speaker. The League has always enjoyed a close relationship with the Archbishop of New York. Cardinal John O'Connor gave Bill, when he took over the Catholic League, offices in the Archdiocesan building. So there's always been this very close relationship. And the current occupant of this office, I guess, first encountered Bill in Milwaukee when he was Archbishop of Milwaukee, and Bill was having some difficulty with Miller Brewing Company at the time. And the man I'm about to introduce to you sided with Bill Donohue. Would you welcome the Archbishop of New York, His Eminence, Cardinal Dolan.
Raymond, thank you. Doctor, thanks. And thanks for your leadership of an excellent board of directors. As I said earlier, everybody, and I mean it, it's genuinely an honor and a joy for me to be with you this evening to chime in celebration of 50 years of our beloved Catholic League. Would you be patient with me for just a second as I speak for a moment about a very significant woman in my life. Happens to be my dad's sister, Frances Ellen Dolan Noonan. Long did I admire my Aunt Fran for her intelligence, her grit, her determination, her sincere and deep Catholic faith. She happened to be very active in democratic politics until they turned their back on the unborn baby. She was involved ardently in the civil rights movement, the labor movement, and she would teach immigrants English in her little spare time. Now often, now this is a while ago, folks, often would she share with me her frustration that Catholics didn't stand up more energetically to promote and defend our convictions. She shared with me how she was very inspired by the blacks and the Jews, the union organizers with whom she was honored to work, but that she was perplexed that Catholics were left in the dust. Well, anyway, it was the spring of 1973. She wrote me in Rome. I was there as a first-year student at the North American College. And my Aunt Fran wrote, and she said, "Timmy, I'm sending you a publication from a Father Virgil Bloom. At last, someone is trying to wake us Catholics up." She also told me she had enrolled me as a member of this new Catholic League and even paid my dues. So I guess I've been a member from the very beginning. Now, while I was in Rome, everybody, I came under the tutelage of Monsignor John Tracy Ellis, the towering historian of American Catholic history, who would lecture eloquently on the ugly strain of anti-Catholicism that was embedded in our American culture. From him did I hear for the first time the famous quote of Arthur Schlesinger, that hatred of the Catholic Church is the deepest bias in the American psyche. Likewise did I learn from him the pedigree of that bigotry, from the vicious animosity of the animosity toward the church brought over by those Puritans, through Know-Nothings, the American Protective Association, the KKK, the Protestants and other Americans United, and his prediction, folks, that the festering bigotry against us from the self-proclaimed enlightened segments of our culture, especially in the press, entertainment, and academia, would only increase to fever pitch. So he was obviously conversant not only in the past, but in the future. An early and ardent supporter of the League was and am I. As eagerly as Aunt Fran and I supported Father Bloom, and I got to know him, especially when I was doing some graduate research at Marquette University in the late 70s. As eagerly as I supported Father Bloom, I was a little uncomfortable that his advocacy seemed limited to the fight for parental choice in education. Oh, a noble cause indeed. And that he seemed to be somewhat meek and humble. We needed, I thought, a more feisty leader. Preferably an articulate layperson with academic credentials, willing to expand the Legion's advocacy. Now, apparently other people agreed, because after Father Bloom's passing, those smarter than I would ever be turned to one Bill Donohue, who is anything but meek, all right? Who happens to be a professor and a fearless defender of those without voice, including his own beloved creed, the Catholic Church. So, this anniversary evening, I salute not only Father Bloom, my Aunt Fran, and the Catholic League for its half-century of advocacy. I salute Bill Donohue as well, who's led us for 60% of those 5 decades. You know, Bill, can you remember when I got here in 2009, you told me, listen, I'll be your pit bull so you can be an Irish setter. Remember that? And you've never let me down. For that I'm grateful, except, pardon me for bringing up the rather unfortunate and controversial decision to endorse light beer. Other than that, you've been right on target. So this evening, everybody, hear me say thank you to our staff, especially our fearless Bernadette, our excellent board, the Aunt Frans of this nation and our church, who continue to make up the Catholic League. As our chair pointed out, hardly a top-down institution, but a grassroots, bottoms-up. and who no longer ask, as Father Bloom did, why we Catholics are political pygmies, and are doing something about it. Thank you, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Raymond. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce, well, the man that the Cardinal's been saluting all along. He's been at the helm of the Catholic League for these 30 years. You know, I was dear friends, as some of you in the room I'm sure were as well, with Father Richard John Newhouse. And I can remember Father Richard saying, "Oh, Bill Donohue, we need a battering ram, Raymond, and he's our battering ram." And he has been that. And Mother Angelica of happy memory, who said, "You know, I like that guy." And I said, "Why do you like him, Mother?" And he said, "Well, he has that 8th gift of the Holy Spirit." And I said, "What's that?" "Guts." For that, I give you Bill Donohue, ladies and gentlemen, President of the Catholic League. Hold on one second, Bill. That speaker is buzzing. Uh-oh. No, I never didn't. You know, it's only you, Bill.
The left is starting in already.
Yeah, there you go.
All right? Sound good?
There we go.
Thank you, people. Your Eminence, it's always great to work with you and to be with you and to share a couple of Coors Lights as we always do. I'm also thankful that Bishop Byrne is here, Bishop Coffey is here, but I also want to single out two guys who have been incredibly generous to us, Walter Knysz and Michael Schwartz. I mean, you guys have been great. Thank you so much. The person who arranged this, and I mean everything, is Bernadette. Yes, she's been mentioned before, she'll be mentioned again. She did it all. Okay, thank you so much. Yes, you mentioned Father Bloom. I didn't get a chance to meet him. He died in 1990. I took over in 93. And I'm sure he's looking down at us tonight. And if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be here at all. So the credit goes to him out of the Midwest. I took over in 93, and people have asked me, what's your proudest moment? Quite frankly, a couple of people have mentioned it tonight. I think the proudest thing about the Catholic League is that we're about the only grassroots organization I know left in this country. I mean, on the left or the right, secular or religious. We don't get money from sugar daddies. We don't get a nickel from the foundations. I don't go around doing that. We are getting money from the rank and file people. We built up a nice war chest on that because people are fed up with what's going on in the culture. So if it wasn't for the members, we may be the generals, but you don't win a war without the troops. And I'm very thankful for our members. They are some of the best people you could possibly imagine. Now, I'm not going to talk here about a litany of Catholic League victories and whatnot. That's boring. I want to talk here tonight in a serious way, but have some fun too, about the changing face of anti-Catholicism. They've touched on it already here this evening. We know from the colonial days right up until really the mid-60s, it was the institutional church that was under attack, being defamed, and individual Catholics being discriminated against in this country. The source of that was, of course, the WASP, the White Anglo-Saxon Protestant elite. And they didn't regard us to be real Christians, all right? Because we love our Blessed Mother, but no, we don't worship her. But they had that all backwards. And we had to put up with that and other kinds of insanity. And right, the Klan was after us, Catholics and Jews as well, and certainly African Americans. But people forget the Catholics were involved in that as well. Now, so yeah, it was a theological animus against us, led by WASP. That really did change with JFK. I mean, we know about the Houston speech, and he kind of tempered things and the like. I'm telling you, when JFK won, that was a benchmark, because it did mean that the discrimination against Catholics really was declining. That's a good thing. On the other hand, because we had made it, finally, we became assimilated and therefore somewhat passive. And that's not a good thing. Now, what changed then was the institutional church was still the object of defamation, except it expanded. It wasn't the WASP anymore, it wasn't theological. This was the beginning of the secular attack. And it was mostly about abortion and sexuality. And it is that way to this day. When I took over in '93, we were faced with anti-Catholicism from the media, the entertainment industry, the arts, legal activist organizations, education. That's where the anti-Catholicism came from. And people said to me, well, Bill, you can take it over an organization that's in trouble. How are you going to deal like with the ACLU? I said, well, I kind of know something about them. I've read the FBI files on them. I did a PhD dissertation on them. I've written 2 books on them. So I'm not too worried about that. And they said, what about like the war on Christmas and stuff like that? How are you going to deal with that? I said, what do you mean? Why would that be difficult? There aren't 3 wise men and a virgin in the entire organization. So after I dealt with that, we did get it from the arts. Remember the Brooklyn Museum of Art? They put the dung on our Blessed Mother. That was an incredible scene. And they said at the Brooklyn Museum of Art that our exhibit could make people sick because a lot of the stuff was grotesque. And so I decided, well, Bernadette, she just joined the Catholic League. We're going to do something. I'm going to pick up on that. So we're going to organize hundreds of people to show up with our Catholic League vomit bags. That's what it says here, vomit bag, compliments of the Catholic League. And I'm being interviewed by some gal on NBC News, and she says to me, what's the purpose of the vomit bag? I said, well, first of all, see the bag? We're very eco-conscious at the Catholic League. And on top of that, you've got to be careful. This is biodegradable. I would insist that it's biodegradable. I don't even know what that means, quite frankly. So, at any rate, I said, listen, we know that puke stinks, right? But it also can be slippery. And if people slip and they fall, they can get injured. So that's why we have our vomit bags. She said, kind of trying to figure out, is this guy for real or not? Yeah. Look, I've always said, it's important to play the media. All right? Don't just let them play you. We can play them. And that's how, when I took this job, people said, do you know rich people? I said, I don't know any of them. So how are you going to make it go? Because I know how to deal with the media. I've done with Crossfire and all the other shows, and Bill Donohue and Larry King and whatnot. And they're good people to me, in all honesty. Most of the people in the media that I've met are good people. I don't trust the people upstairs, that's for sure. But a lot of good people in the media. Anyhow, the biggest first change that I saw was, we still got it from the media, the entertainment industry, the education, the arts, and the legal organizations. But the first big change occurred, I'd say, in the 2000s. And that's when it came from government. Now, I don't need to tell you, it's one thing to have educators going against you. It's quite another thing when you have government. And I'm talking here about the election of Obama in 2008. Now, I knew this guy was going to be trouble because when he was in the Illinois State Senate, he promoted a bill that said that when the baby is born as a result of a botched abortion, leave the baby to die on the doctor's table. I knew that was going to be a problem. Now, he gets elected in 2008. Within 2 weeks, the IRS is calling me. A guy from Brooklyn, Pete, says you're going to be under investigation for violating our code because you're involved in the campaign. I said, okay. I said, let me tell you something, Pete. I know where this is coming from, and I have the proof. It's coming from George Soros. He said, well, I can't say. I said, no, but I can say. Now let me prove it to you. Let me prove it to you. All right? I don't like when people come along and they say, well, I've got the proof, and they haven't got any. I've got the proof. I was asked to go on CNN, which I did, a couple of weeks before Obama got elected. And a group called Catholics United, which is funded by George Soros. I killed that organization, by the way. I also killed Catholic Alliance for Catholic Good. We've killed a lot of these folks. They said to us that, you shouldn't have Donohue on TV. because they'd advertised that I was going on TV that night. And they said, we have evidence that you shouldn't have him on, and they sent a big, long document over to CNN as to why I shouldn't be on TV. It was basically a lot of the news releases, what you had written about, critical of Obama. Now, there happened to be a young Irish gal by the name of Erin. We have a good Erin on our board here. There's a Erin. We have moles everywhere. You know, the Catholics are. We put them in every place. We build tunnels for the Vatican and whatnot. So this girl contacts me. She says, listen, they want to kick you off of TV. And we told them, no, we're going to go with Bill. She said, but they did give us a very lengthy document about you. They think it's negative. It's just basically the stuff that we know about you. She said, do you want me to fax it to you? I said, you'd like to see it. I didn't think anything of it because I get all kinds of hate and everything else. I'm going to get into that, for years. It's part of the job. So when the IRS contacted me and they showed me the document, it matched up very nicely, almost to the word. This was the George Soros-funded Catholics United. That was their document, and they came after me. So after they investigated me about a year and a half, they said, well, we conclude that you were involved in the political campaign, but it was unintentional, so we're not going to have any big thing. I said, wait a minute. I'm not done, Pete. What you just said was wrong on 2 counts, all right? Number 1, I wasn't involved in the campaign. I'm exercising my free speech rights, all right? We're against abortion. It's a human right. And everything I did, let the boys know, it wasn't unintentional. Everything I did was intentional, all right? And I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it again. So he said, listen, I'm just the one telling you. I said, yes, and you tell your bosses, I am not going to stop. So we may meet again, Pete, all right? So then Obama comes in. It's the first Christmas, 2009. I knew we had some problems. First of all, it comes out in People magazine that he and Michelle, it's their own business, but it tells me something. They never exchanged Christmas gifts with their children or each other. And I thought, what are we dealing with here? Then we find out there was a big debate in Washington, and they're going to put a creche up in the White House. They finally did. But one of the ornaments on the Christmas tree, I'm not making this up, was of Mao Zedong, who killed 77 million of his own people. They recognized him in the White House. Worse than that was when they put us in Kathleen Sebelius, all right, a so-called Catholic. Her friend was George the Killer Tiller. You know about him, the abortionist. And she's the one who went after the Little Sisters of the Poor. Now, the second big change that I witnessed is really, I had to deal with, of course, with Obama's successor. And that's when things really got bad again. I'm talking about Biden. On day one, he issued 17 executive orders. Trump issued 1 on the first day. One of the 17 executive orders was that boys and girls could use the same bathrooms and locker rooms, I'm not making it up, and that they can, of course, play in each other's sports. So I began, what are we up for now? What kind of a society is it when the President of the United States, his first day in office, is saying that boys and girls can use each other's locker rooms? Of course, we've seen the attack on parental consent, which is unyielding with this administration. We've seen the attack on school choice, Father Bloom's #1 issue. Catholic doctors and hospitals. I hope you know this. Biden wants to close down the Catholic doctors and hospitals in this country. If you think I'm exaggerating, read the language of the Equality Act. It hasn't passed. The Republicans have stopped it from being passed. If the Equality Act gets passed, they always come up with nice terms. The Catholic doctors and hospitals will be required to perform sex reassignment surgeries and perform abortions. Otherwise, the federal money stops altogether. It doesn't get more anti-Catholic than that. And, of course, we've seen what happened with Jane's Revenge. We've been trying to get with Garland to respond on that. They've done nothing about that. And of course, now the FBI. And I come from a family of Irish cops and FBI people. I love them. But I don't trust the elites at the top. It's not the rank and file people. They're good men and women. But the people at the top, they started with the traditional Catholics. All right? What are they, Antifa? But it didn't stop there, did it? They went on now to get the mainline Catholics. That's what they were to spy on us as such. And that, people, is absolutely invidious. The second big change that I've seen is the ruling class in this country has now gone all woke. I mean, it's not just the education and the arts and the entertainment industry and whatnot. We have traditional institutions which have either been agnostic, have not taken a position, or they've been on our side. I'm not just talking about Disney. I'm talking about the healthcare industry. I'm talking about the Fortune 500. Where do you think these people get the money? They get it from Wall Street, right? I'm talking about the military, not the average military guy. I'm a veteran myself. I'm talking about the elites at the top. The same thing with the FBI. The left has penetrated the elite quarters in practically every segment of our society. And of course now they also have a new goal. The attack today is on one thing. It's on truth. That's what postmodernism means. It comes out of Germany in the 1940s and 50s. People like Adorno, Horkheimer, Marcuse, then you have Foucault out of France. It comes to the United States. The idea is that truth is a fiction. There's no such thing as truth. Well, Hitler said the exact same thing. Hitler said there's no such thing as truth. So they do have something in common, these people. Once you believe that there's no such thing as truth, then a man can become a woman can become a man, men can become pregnant and give birth. That's what the ACLU says in their official newsletter. Men can become pregnant and give birth. And of course, we also see it in the attack on correct spelling, correct mathematics. This is whiteness and the like. So this kind of situation is just something I never saw in my lifetime. And quite frankly, in many respects, I don't even recognize the society that I grew up with. And I think that's probably true of many of you people. In terms of the postmodernism, just to show you how crazy these people are, I'm going to mention some gal to you. You've probably never heard of her. That's just as well. It's not a household name. Her name is Laurie Calhoun. Laurie Calhoun is a postmodernist philosopher, and she's been at Harvard. She's been a number of different places. And she was asked a question by a philosopher who's more on our side. I'm going to give you the exact question and her answer. The question is this: is it a fact that giraffes are taller than ants? Laurie Calhoun says, no, it is an article of religious faith in our culture. Right? Now, I say some people are complaining we need to depopulate the asylums. I think we need to build more asylums and get these people in there. Put the straitjackets on them, take them into Bellevue. I'm going to start a Bring Back Willowbrook campaign. I mean, how's that? I'm all crazy, right over the edge. I mean, these people are mad, and what they're involved in is child abuse. And if we don't call it child abuse, then we're the problem, all right? This is child abuse. When you take a minor and you do it behind the parents' back, this is child abuse. It's all about thought control. All right, look what they're doing at Michigan State. They put out a statement recently. I know it's Walter's alma mater, but they came out and said, in the conversations that we have here from the administrators, we will use the following words will never be used: female, America, Christmas tree, berries, wreaths, and whatnot. This is what they're doing. West Point, we love West Point. They are lecturing the young men and women about the preferred pronouns. It's going on at West Point. It's going on everywhere. You know about the guy in Colorado, Jack Phillips, with the masterpiece cake. He wouldn't make the cake for the gay couple. He's not against gays. He services them, but he wouldn't recognize the wedding. Well, he's back in court again, and the suing attorney came out and he says, and these are his words: we have to correct the errors of Jack's thinking. See, it's all about thought control. That's what they want. Look, the most number one right that we have, and Solzhenitsyn said it better than anybody else, is the right of conscience. The right of conscience is inextricably related to religious freedom. If they can get your conscience, they own you. And that's what this is about. They want you to walk the walk and talk the talk. We can't go on with this any longer, people. We need to fight back. I tried to do this in my own little way. Besides the Catholic League, I went for an operation a couple years ago, nothing big. And on the sheets, they asked me all these questions about the pronouns, what I want to be called, and they knew I was a man, I've been pregnant and whatnot. So I took a big X all to it, and I said, this is all insane. And I showed it to the gals who were working there, and they started cracking up laughing. And I said, if your boss wants to talk to me, let him or her come out and talk to me now, because I'm not putting up with this any longer, all right? It's absolutely insanity. The wheels are coming off. We got a woman out in Oregon. It's a Christian woman. She has a couple of kids and she wants to adopt another child. They're told that you can't adopt anybody. because you're Christian. This is a case in Oregon, because if you're a Christian, that means if you happen to have a gay child or transgender, that you will discriminate against them. They're making that decision right now. That's just how bad it's become. Now, I have some good things to say here in concluding. The idea that these things are not reversible is insane also. All right? There's no such thing as an iron law of history. History changes. Sometimes it gets better, sometimes it does not. We've seen, even with some of the people here tonight, with Brent Bozell, what he's done over at Media Research Company, Tom Monahan, what he's done with the schools, incredible, and Legatus. Chris Ruddy. Chris, this is your moment, season, all right, over at Newsmax. So, our Disney movie, which is taken off like I can't, we won this morning our second best documentary. We already won one before, we went 2 now in the Disney movie. Even the New York Times last month published an op-ed by a kid from Princeton who says that on the Ivy League campuses they're moving more conservative because they were pushed so hard with the left that there's a resentment, there's a backlash going on, all right? We have to remember this. When you have people like Bill Maher, that anti-Catholic bigot that he is, nonetheless comes out and says, wait a minute, there's only 2 sexes, all right? I mean, he's reaching an audience maybe that we can't reach. Andrew Sullivan, very bright guy, he's the intellectual godfather of the whole same-sex marriage thing. He comes out and says, no, this thing has gone too far. Stop with this idea of transgender. Don't conflate it with being gay. You have Richard Dawkins, another anti-Catholic bigot. He's a biologist, he's a bright guy out of England. And he says, what are they talking about? There's only 2 sexes, just male and female. But this has gone too far. So you have people like that. Erica Anderson, her name is not a household name, but she was America's first transgender psychologist. She says, I'm out, count me out, this has gone too far. We can't go on with this thing anymore. We have a group called Gays Against Groomers that has taken place. The Europeans are breaking away. The Swedes now will no longer perform these surgeries on minors. So there are good things that are happening. And let's face it, what happened with Bud Light is a cultural marker. That's a good sign of what's going on. We were supposed to have Budweiser as one of the choices here tonight. I told Bernadette, tell them at the AC it's out. Now, there's also, finally, I just want to say about some demographic groups. Do you know, my staff hears me say this all the time, and they're probably tired of me saying, the biggest problem we have in the world are well-educated white people. And I mean that sincerely. New Zealand is crazy, Australia is crazy, United States, all of Europe, Canada. They don't believe this crazy stuff down in Latin America. They don't believe it in Africa. They don't believe it in the Middle East. They don't believe it in China. They don't believe it in Russia. It's the well-educated people. Now, guess who are the least likely to believe that a man can become a woman? African Americans. God bless them. They have more common sense than the white people who spent their life in school. Right? I'm also happy that blacks are leading the cause too. They don't want to defund the police. They don't want to abolish the prisons. It's usually the well-meaning white guys and some other crazy blacks too, maybe, but they're all elite who want to do that kind of thing. When Bobby Rush, the former Black Panther, came out and said, listen, we got to support the police. I mean, you know some good things are happening. The Hispanics, I mean, you guys Hispanics, where's Mario tonight? Where's Mario Paredes? Over here. Hey, listen, look what you guys did. It was the crazy leftist who said, oh, there's no such thing as Latino, a male. There's no such thing as Latina, a female. You're now Latinx. Guess what? They've given up. Everyone's given up. You won on that because you pushed back. The Hispanics said we're not going to put up with that any longer. So that's good. The Muslims, God bless them, they're the ones leading the fight now about these pornographic books that are being given to little kids. They call it book banning. No, it's age-appropriate stuff. And the Muslims are fed up with that, and they're fighting at Yale University for modesty and the like. We have to join forces. I don't care, Protestant, Catholic, Jewish, Muslim, whatever. We have to join forces with these people and not just do it on ourselves. And look at the Asians. The Asians are fighting back now. They've had it because they're being discriminated against because they're too successful. Instead of helping those at the bottom clear the bar, we keep dropping the bar, and we go out and we want to punish the Asians because of that. Basically, in conclusion, I just want to say this. I don't think I want to encourage cynicism of elites. I do want to encourage skepticism. Because somebody has an alphabet after his name, PhD, MD, whatever it is, Esquire, I don't care. You've got to be skeptical. We've been lied to enough in this country, not just with COVID, but a lot of other kinds of things. Be very skeptical. Trust your gut. I say this on radio and TV all the time. If something doesn't seem right to you, and you hear this person on radio, TV, and it doesn't sound right, but the person has all kinds of credentials, don't go along with that person. Trust your gut. So, as far as I'm concerned, at the end, we have two choices, people. We can either quit or we can fight. There's no third choice. If you're a spectator, you're not doing the right thing. We can either quit or fight. We're going to fight at the Catholic League. We're going to take them to the mat, and I'm glad that you came here tonight. Now, let's eat, drink, and be merry, folks. Thank you.